Good morning. Welcome, everybody, to the weekend wrap up here on Shelbyville Now. I'm David Thomas, Mr. Josh Blevins. Josh, it's good to see you again this morning
Good
after
to see you again.
A little slower week than the previous weeks.
It's not as much going on this week as we've had in the past. So we'll see if we can tighten it up a little bit and not go for 45 minutes to an hour.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll go as long as we need to, and then we'll
it's the internet. We can go as long as we want.
That's true. That's true. All right. Well, before we dive into what happened this week, Josh, let's take a quick break and hear from Dennis Young Insurance, our fine sponsors, and we'll be right back after this.
With the personalized service you deserve at Dennis Young Insurance Agency.
As a local independent agency, we offer coverage from several different companies, including Erie. So whether it's auto, home, life, personal, or business, we can find the right coverage to meet your unique insurance needs. And with a rate lock advantage, your rates won't go up as long as you do not change drivers, autos, or addresses. Contact us at Dennis Young Insurance Agency, insuring Shelbyville and surrounding areas since 1988.
Again, we want to thank our sponsor, Dennis Young Insurance, for allowing us to do the weekend wrap-up show. Josh, I always have a lot of fun doing this and have a lot of fun talking about what's going on around. Yeah. And there's some interesting things that we'll talk about. Not a whole lot of content today, but some very interesting stuff. So why don't you dive in?
A lot of things going on. I'm going to tell you what the biggest news story, I didn't get it on my rundown, but I came across it in the last day or two. Did you see, David, the Is This Progress house? They cut the grass around it.
Did they really?
That
is progress.
That's progress. They cut the grass.
Right,
so that is, as we know, that's really the entry sign to the city of Shelbyville. Yes. You know you've come to Shelbyville when you see the house over there that says, Is This Progress? Right. And it was grown up around it for years.
Something that might distract from that, we have banners on the overpass now.
That's true.
Says, Welcome to Shelbyville.
Yeah, for the horse show.
Yes, and Miss Susie Johnson takes care of that every year. She makes sure that gets put up.
Those banners are all up. But just if you're driving down 231 now, you're going like, where'd all the grass and stuff go? The house is still there, the spray paint's still there, but the grass and the
making progress in Bedford County.
We made progress around the Is This Progress house. So that is our story of the week. That's the big one.
Right.
But getting into the other things that went on during the week, Tuesday night we had our county commission meeting. It was 8 minutes long.
That's big news.
That's big news because apparently there's nothing going on in the county. There was nothing worth discussing. So they came, they pledged of allegiance, they read through a couple things, and they left. So, I mean, I guess not a lot of county business this month, but they did say that next week at the Rules Committee, they're bringing in Charlie Curtis, who is the head of the state organization that oversees all 95 county commissions.
Right.
And he's going to discuss some of what went on the previous week of the Rules Committee as far as they're trying to rewrite their
He's
rules.
The guy you ask a question and he's got the answer.
He's the one that has the answer. He gives the official answer from the state.
He's been there long enough to, I think he's seen this. He's done a one or two rodeos.
Well, 95 counties. We're not his first one to visit.
No.
He's probably been here before. So.
It's good to have him coming.
Yeah, good to have him coming. And then the week after that, because there were financial questions at the previous meeting, they're bringing in the state comptroller, somebody from the state comptroller's office, and they're going to be at the financial management committee meeting to ask any kind of financial questions they have. In particular, there were a lot of questions about the 1981 Act at that meeting, and they said rather than just make up answers, how about if we bring in the expert?
That would be good.
You know, what a crazy concept.
I know.
So that'll happen the week after that. So. But other than that, at the county level, not a lot going on. If all we got is 8 minutes to discuss things and no discussions. So.
We have talked longer now than they talked up there.
Than they did at their meeting. Exactly. So it's time to move on.
No, actually, we're only at 4 minutes.
Yeah, we're not there, but you get the idea. Same night, a meeting that I didn't go to, but I should have because it was much longer and much fuller. In the city of Bell Buckle, for the last few weeks, all the talk in town has been about barbecue smoke. So
smoke in
Bell Buckle. I have breakfast in Bell Buckle every Friday morning at the used to be called the 82 Market. They renamed it, but all the chatter is we got a barbecue place in town, and some people aren't happy. There's smoke coming out of their smoker. So
there's no way to make barbecue without smokers.
It seems hard to make barbecue without smokers. So there's that. So I don't know all the players or all the pieces, but on social media, as tends to happen, a video came out a couple days ago, and it was all the talk Friday morning. And they had this meeting. A few pieces of the meeting were videotaped and clipped together, posted on Facebook. And it was quite the interesting video. If you go to Alley Barbecue, which is the name of the company, on their Facebook, they've got the entire 13, 15 minutes of video, which we don't have time to play, but I clipped it up even more. We're going to play about 2 minutes. What we have here is one of the aldermen from the city of Bell Buckle is going to give a statement about why they're concerned about smoke coming out of the barbecue smoker. He's then going to turn his statement into the Good Samaritan story. Not sure how you get from smoke out of the barbecue to the Good Samaritan. And then we're going to see at the very end of the clip, we're going to see the actual smoker in process of smoking and see what all the fuss is about and see, is this worth a meeting that drew in the entire town, standing room only, and people having to stand outside. So
Yeah.
let's watch 2 minutes of smoke in Bell Buckle.
Because I know that some people think we're being sticky. Would it be possible for me? I really enjoy the smell of cigarette smoke, and I like that smell. Can I light up in this building? Why not?
Health department says you can't.
Why not? I have the right to smoke, don't I?
You have the right to smoke, but the health department says you can't.
Are they? Whose
Can't
rights?
chew either.
Whose rights are they protecting?
You're protecting.
Your right to not
my right to.
not live with secondhand smoke?
Yes.
Okay, I just checking to make sure that that's a proper precedent. And Jesus said, love God and love your neighbors yourself. If you have these two, all the rest of the laws will follow. And then the Pharisee asked, he said, well, who is my neighbor? And Jesus went on to tell a story. A Samaritan came by. And I don't know if you guys know, but Samaria is to the south of Judea. So the Samaritan came by and he said, "Hola, amigo. What you doing? You got a pre-existing condition?" He didn't say anything. He says, "Oh no, I'm going to drag my ass over here. I'm going to put the man on my donkey. And I'm going to take care of him."
That might be a little bit much. Yeah, that's a little bit more than what I want to cook at because I just put the wood in. But once that burns down, then I cook. So really, this is about as much smoke as what I want.
Okay. Josh, there's a lot of stuff going on.
A lot
in that
went
video.
on at that meeting. I don't know any of the parties involved. All I did was hear the rumors and saw the video. Let's work backwards from the end of the video. If you look at the end, you can see there's a smoker. It's out in the alley, hence the name Alley Barbecue.
Right.
And it's got the longest chimney I've ever seen coming off a smoker. They're trying to push that smoke way
It's
up
a good
in the air,
15
so
feet tall.
it's
It
a
goes
tall-
above the roof.
above the roof.
Yeah.
So they're trying to get the smoke up in the air. So at least to me, just from the video, it looks like they're putting in some effort there. On top of which, it's a barbecue restaurant. I'm kind of expecting it's going to be hard to operate it without smoke. Smokeless barbecue just doesn't sound like
But
something that's
here's
going to sell well.
One of the things about being a patron of a barbecue place is smelling that smoke before you go inside.
Yeah, that's kind
Man,
of
this is good.
This is
It's
good
like
stuff.
a drawing card, okay?
Yeah.
I mean, you walk out, and I love the smell of barbecue, man.
I do as well. Now, maybe if I lived in a house and like the chimney went by my window or something, I don't know. It seems a little crazy to me. And then going further back in the video, I didn't realize the Good Samaritan was a Hispanic gentleman from Mexico, but that seems to be the implication there. So I'm not sure what was going on with that speech. And actually, a lot of what was said in that speech was offensive enough to enough people that if you now go on the Facebook page of Webb School, you'll find a nice press release about that speech saying that the gentleman who gave it was an employee of Webb School and they don't agree with what was said. So
Wow.
we'll leave that at that. That's between them and him and the rest of the people of Bell Buckle. But the final solution they came to at the end of the meeting was no solution at all. They're going to, which is what happened. This is the second month this has come up. They're going to revisit it in 30 days and see what they're going to do about it.
This seems to be the tendency around here.
Defer.
Defer.
Yeah.
Toss it down the road. But my
Yeah.
question to you, Josh, was there any talk Well, you weren't there,
I
but
wasn't
maybe
there,
you've heard a
yeah.
little bit more in some of these conversations in that area
Yeah.
since you do the breakfast thing.
I do the breakfast thing.
All right.
Yeah.
Is there any talk of like maybe since this is a problem, what about chimney smoke this fall and winter when people are burning their firewood? We're going to stop that too, or?
You would think that would be a similar kind of smoke. I don't know. I mean, you heard him compare it to cigarette smoke there. I don't think smoke coming out
He
of your
loves to
smoker is
smoke. He loves to
he
smell
seems to like
cigarette.
smoking inside, which is not allowed. But these people are also not smoking their meat inside. It is out in the alley at least.
Right,
So
right.
if it was in the building, that might be
Well,
a
that
little
would be
more
a big
concern.
time
That'd be a
problem, yeah.
problem. So,
Okay, so this is a business trying to conduct a barbecue business in
Right,
Bell Buckle.
in
Are
Bell
there
Buckle.
any other barbecue places in Bell Buckle? There's not.
they are the barbecue place in Bell Buckle. Yeah.
So
that's it.
This
So-
would be a great addition to Bell Buckle. Okay, you've got the Bell Buckle Cafe.
You got the cafe
on one end, and
you
then
got
you've
all
got-
the antique shops.
Yes,
You got
and-
the ice cream place on the other end.
We
it also
need-
has the fried pies.
When I say we, a Bedford County person that goes there,
right,
barbecue could be good over there.
it could be good. I've only eaten there once, but I did eat there once right after they opened it. It was really good barbecue. So
So this
I'll
is
probably go
deferred,
back.
and we're going to talk about it later.
We'll hear more about smoke and Bell Buckle at some point in the future.
All right.
So, and there'll probably be a lot more of it on Facebook, and I just watch social media. There's always drama.
Oh,
going
yeah.
on. So that's it in Bell Buckle. Moving forward to the next day of the week, Wednesday, we found out that TDEC, Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation, has given the city of Shelbyville $2.5 million to expand H.V. Griffin Park.
Okay.
Which we knew this was coming, but the key to that 2.5 million, we don't give you 2.5 million unless you also spend 2.5 million of your own money.
Yeah.
So what is now going to have to happen if we want this money is we've got to find money out of our own budget to match it, or we need to get out there quickly and find some corporate sponsors and get some money flowing in, because this is the first phase of putting a nice soccer park over in HV Griffin, which we found out at the first city meeting that this came up in. And also just from the number of comments and stuff on Facebook, soccer is kind of popular around here.
Yes,
So-
it is.
And not just around here. I mean, in general in the U.S. I mean, people like their
It's
soccer.
grown in the Southeast for
Yeah.
the last decade or,
Oh,
or 20
more.
years.
I
and-
did with my three boys. We did. I was at rec soccer for, I want to say 15 years straight. I mean, and there were some weeks when I had three different ones playing. We'd be on a soccer field like 4 or 5 nights a week. So it's a big deal.
Yeah,
And-
40 or 50 years ago, nobody knew what soccer
Yeah,
was.
it was
I
all
mean, now it's
baseball
just come rushing in.
Yeah, it's come rushing in. And we don't have a good facility here in town. So this is a good idea on paper. The question is, how do we get there without, one of the questions I saw posted on as a comment was, oh, here comes a property tax increase. Well, we don't want to, raise property taxes to put in soccer. We need to find a better solution
Right.
where we can get it out of money we already have in the budget, or again, maybe some corporate sponsors.
Yeah, if we're going to
or-
raise property tax insurance, Josh, we need to be fixing infrastructure.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is not infrastructure.
No,
this
this
is
is a-
entertainment.
Yeah,
and
this
sports,
is a
so
want more than need, although it's an
Right.
important want. It's not,
Yeah.
it's not,
Well,
just
you could-
frivolous, but
You hear the proponents of this say, well, we could really draw some big tournaments in here, and that's
Yeah.
that's one thing that's a positive there that could bring some revenue.
that will help.
But
yes.
we've got to have hotels. We've got to
We gotta
have
have a lot of
better
other
rest.
stuff,
We got to
yeah.
upgrade a lot of stuff to get
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Maybe we can do all this stuff simultaneously, Josh.
That would be nice.
Why don't you
So-
just write a check and take care of this?
Yeah, I was thinking the Blevins soccer complex sounds good, but my bank account's a little light on the
Little light on
$2.5
the
million.
all right. Okay.
right
Well,
now,
from what I
so-
understand, the entire project was going to be 14 million.
14 was the ask. Well, they asked the state for 7 with us matching 7. Even the state came back and said that seems a little stout. Even the state didn't think we could match 7. They
Yeah.
came back and said, how about 2.5? We'll go 5. And
Five.
I don't know a lot about building soccer fields, but I think for $5 million, you could get some pretty nice soccer
Yeah,
fields.
you got the land already.
It's a flat piece of grass with a fence around it. I mean, I know you got to have drainage and stuff,
right.
but I mean,
There's some land excavation that has to
yeah,
happen.
there's not. I mean, it's not football where you need big structures. I mean, we're not building an indoor stadium here. These are open fields for soccer. So for $5 million, I'm feeling like
That's
you
a good
should be able to-
start.
yeah, you should be able to get something. So we'll see. I would expect at the next city study session or city council meeting, they'll start discussing this in public, so we can kind of get a feeling from
Right.
city council where they're thinking on this. So we'll be looking forward to that. Thursday evening, we had the school board meeting, which this was the meeting where they had the final vote on something we discussed 2 weeks ago, which is the ESSER 3.0 money. This is the last little bundle of COVID money, believe it or not, here in 2024. We still had COVID money from the federal government that was sitting there. And if we didn't have a plan for it by the end of September, it was going to stop sitting there and we were going to lose it. So it was $3.9 million. As expected, the school board voted unanimously to spend it. They had 2 workshops, set up a list of things. I went to the first workshop, missed the second one. But as they read off during the meeting, about $925,000 off the top goes towards textbooks. That was part of the requirements, the ESSER funds. You had to spend a certain percentage on learners. They took care of that. We're getting 4 new school buses. Thomas and Liberty, which are currently undergoing expansion. This is going to cover all the furniture that's going to need to go in there when those new classrooms are done. We're getting security cameras and new higher security door access at a number of different schools. And then the big dollar amount figure out of this is $1.2 million for vestibules at 9 of the schools. That's where you go in the front door and you're still not in the school. You're locked in a little room, basically, where they can see you and you have to present ID and they have to make sure you're not a threat to the school before they let you all the way into the building. So that's a security feature that was needed. And by having this federal money come in, it was an easy way to take care of it. So there was additionally some reimbursements for stuff that they spent at Cartwright. They said they were going to have a few dollars for that. And then when this is all said and done, we've now spent $3.9 million in federal money on stuff, some of which was already in our budget. So we've now got that money left over. So now they can have workshops to say, hey, they didn't name what that dollar amount was, but for instance, if it's $2 million that was already in the budget, they can say, hey, we got $2 million extra dollars now.
I know what they can do with it, Josh. We can help supply our teachers.
That would be nice.
Let me tell you something. Right now, a teacher, when they start the year, for the most part, has to go get their own supplies.
Yeah.
And Tina Corley has started this Adopt a Teacher program, and they raise tens of thousands of dollars so the teachers can just buy supplies for their classroom. How about if we supplement that?
If we gave
with
them
some of this money?
And I don't know.
I don't know if you can do that.
Well, and I don't know. Do we even give them some kind of a stipend at the beginning of the year? We ought to be if we're not. But whatever we're giving them is not enough. Because you're right. I bought 2 teachers I know. I went on their Amazon wish list and got them something this year just because, you feel bad. They're going in. I mean, we don't pay them enough anyways. And then they're out there buying, markers.
Some of them may have to spend up to $500, $600, $800 for just basic supplies for the classroom. How about if we use some of that money to get a boost?
And I don't know what the dollar amount would be, but we should have a $500 stipend or $1,000 stipend at the beginning of the year.
That's a lot of money when you go around to all the teachers. I get it, but they have to have this type of stuff for kids. I mean,
they're not buying it just la-di-da to have.
But hats off to Tina Corley for doing that. She started that a few years back.
Yeah, and they do great work with that. So, a couple other notes that came up during the school board meeting that I thought were interesting. Our attendance so far, and we're very early, so we don't know for sure, but we're a little over 100 new kids more than we were last year. So that's about on track for what we've been seeing year to year. We're getting about 100 students every year. So we're kind of, even with what we've been doing. And then at Cartwright, they've already got 572 kids in classrooms. And that's not even counting the pre-K classes, which they gave that number and I didn't write down, maybe 60 or so of those. So already that school, it's not at capacity or anything, but it's got more than they planned to start with. So, and I can tell you, because I live in a Cartwright zone neighborhood, we got 125 houses being built in our neighborhood that'll be ready in about another year and a half.
So
and all those kids will go to Cartwright.
Well, here's my question. At this current number, it had to pull from other schools. So the question is, did that free up some other schools? And it had to. It had because to, our overall numbers are up.
Yeah, we're only up 100. Yeah.
Okay, and you freed up 470 kids somewhere.
So some other schools have some space, and that's helping, I'm sure, with less.
So this is taking some pressure off.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, another place they did say, though, we got pressure. Talk about pressure.
Yeah, I know.
Shelbyville Central High School is busting at the seams. So
and it's going to continue.
I've heard 1,650 kids or something in there. It's just, it's full. So
they're walking up every day.
Yeah. So we've really got to start thinking hard about that next high school, which is probably going to happen at Liberty.
75 or 80% of these that are walking up are they're English as a second language too.
Right.
Mostly Hispanic, mostly non-English speaking that have to, the ones that are coming in the middle of the year.
Right.
And they're short. There's a shortage on those teachers.
So that's just putting pressure all the way around on the school system. And then another thing they discussed a little bit, and they didn't get too deep into it because they didn't approve it, but I thought it was interesting, so I thought we'd discuss it briefly. We're going to get therapy dogs in some of our classrooms, apparently. So, and what I found out during the meeting is we actually already had 2 teachers that were bringing therapy dogs, and now their dogs have to go away because we couldn't decide on a policy at this most recent meeting.
So explain to me, Josh, and explain to our audience, what is a therapy dog?
I did a little bit of reading and on the Googles and research and just what I heard at the meeting. And near as I can tell, it's a dog the teacher brings in to just help the kids, with emotional support and, feeling better about, life. And I don't know. Honestly, David, when I went to school, we hiked in the snow barefoot uphill both ways, a mile each direction.
And if you took your dog, they'd shoot the dog when you get there.
So it's
bad.
a whole different world. So I realize we may not fit in this world anymore, but I just thought it was interesting that we now have therapy dogs. And actually, part of my reading, Franklin Special School District, which is a fairly nice school district, they've got 9 schools in that school district. Every single one of them has a therapy dog in the school.
Where is this?
Franklin, Tennessee. Yeah. Franklin Special School District. All 9 of their schools have therapy dogs. And this is apparently a thing now. So I guess we're catching up with the trends. So we're going to have therapy dogs as well. So
I'm speechless, Josh.
They did mention they're limiting it to dogs. There will be no therapy chickens, no therapy monkeys.
Well, it's good to know that.
Yeah, we're
no
staying
monkeys
with dogs.
into the classroom.
Yes. So that was the school board meeting, and then Friday morning I went to our election commission meeting, 8:30 in the morning on Friday. Went straight from my bell buckle discussion of smoke and bell buckle straight to the election commission. And at that meeting, they handed us the candidate list, and we'll start with the smaller towns. Town of Normandy, we have one person running for alderman, Cody, I'm going to slaughter this name, Sherrock. They've actually got 2 of those spots available, so they don't even have enough people running to fill right now. Wartrace, 3 aldermen at large, Benjamin Cataldo, Matthew Evans, and Thomas Batchelor. They have 3 open spots, so those 3 names will get those spots. All they got to get, I would assume, would be 1 vote. So,
yeah,
unless somebody is really upset with one of those 3 and runs a write-in campaign and beats them, but I don't see that happening. But bigger races in the city of Shelbyville, we have 3 wards that have open seats coming up in November. Ward 1, we have Councilmember Henry Feldhaus, and he's unopposed. So I'd say
evidently Ward 1 is happy.
They're happy with Mr. Feldhaus. So he will once again be the council member for Ward 1. Ward 3, however, we have 3 candidates there. We have the incumbent, Gary Hale. We have a Betsy Noel, and then we have a J.D. Daniel Jr. So for whatever reason, the people in Ward 3 are going to get more choices. So they've got 3 people running. And then we get to Ward 5. We've got our incumbent, Stephanie Isaacs. We have Dee McCullough. And then some crazy guy named Josh Blevins.
And I got a question for you. Why, Josh?
Why
did you decide to run?
Running for council in Ward 5? That's a long answer, and eventually we'll do a video discussion.
Yeah,
but just
I've
briefly,
got to sit you down. We got to do meet the candidates, even though everybody knows you. I have 5 very important questions for you.
Yes, we're going to do a meet the candidates, and not just with me. We would like to do a meet the candidates with all 7 people running, even the incumbent that doesn't have anybody running against them.
This table and this mic is open, and I have 5 questions.
Yes, that you'll answer.
Simple.
Yeah,
simple.
Ask
questions.
all of them. But for me personally, why I chose to run was it started for me back last year. I think it was June of 2023. I had worked with one of our county commissioners, who's a good friend of mine, and I'll go ahead and say his name because I don't think you'll care, Eric Maddox. We worked for several months and developed a amendment for the county budget where we were going to be able to cut the property taxes for everybody in Bedford County by 6%. And without affecting services, it also would allow them to maintain the pay increases for employees. And we're now well past that. We've seen 2 sets of budget numbers since then. And had that been adopted, nothing that we've done in the last 2 years would have changed. We still would have been able to build Cartwright. It was a good plan. And it still, it failed. We lost 4-14. But it was a good plan, and we weren't able to push it forward. But that very same month, I went to a city council meeting because we were curious what the city was doing on their budget. And at that point, I wasn't plugged in yet on the city level. So I went to the city council meeting in June of 2023. I'm almost positive it was June. I'd have to go back and look at the video. And they were voting on the city budget that night. We wanted to see what they were doing with the taxes. I went as a resident of Ward 5, where I've lived for 2.5 years now. And my council person wasn't there for the vote on the budget. So I felt like I was there as a resident and I wasn't represented at that meeting. And I thought, you know what? The best way to make sure I'm represented is maybe, run for the seat. So that's what I'm doing. It's a year later, more than a year later. I feel like we as residents of the city haven't been fully represented, not just in my ward and city council, in general in local government. There's the perception here that we've got a lot of people that have been here longer, that have a certain last name, that maybe have a few more dollars in their bank account. And it's not we, the people, that are represented right now. It's we, the people that have more money, or we, the people that have lived here our whole life, and our cousin Bobby and our cousin's cousin Bobby, they've done this and done that. So a lot of those people get represented, and maybe some of the smaller people that don't have that pedigree or that background don't get the same level of representation of the city. So my goal would be to represent the people that live in my ward, every single one of them. I've only lived here 2.5 years. I've not lived here my whole life. But to me, that's a plus and not a minus. And that when something comes before the council, I don't have to look at that and say, oh, I went to school with that guy back in 5th grade. I can't vote against him. Or, I know his cousin Bobby. We go to church together.
Yeah, sometimes
or,
the facts get distorted by all that convolution.
Yeah. And believe it or not, there's a world outside of Bedford County. I've lived here 2.5 years, but I lived in Nashville a lot of years, but I've lived in Canada. I spent large amount of time in Mexico. I've lived in Maine. I've lived in Kentucky. There's a whole world out there with other ideas that didn't, come from Bedford County. Maybe it's time to get a few new ideas into local government rather than doing the same thing over and over and over again. So that's what I'm hoping. And we'll see. I mean, the people will be the ones that ultimately make the decision. Maybe they're happy with where things are at in the city and they just want to keep the same old.
Yeah.
And if they do, we'll probably keep getting the same results if we keep electing the same people.
That usually happens that way, doesn't it?
That usually happens that way. So I'm just there to hopefully, A, represent my people in my ward, and B, offer some new ideas that didn't come from, local, that came from having experience outside of the city, outside the county, outside the country. Right. There's other things going on out there, and it's good to maybe bring in some fresh new ideas.
Yeah, fresh eyes is also a good thing. When you've been here your entire life, you just kind of start getting numb to a lot of stuff.
Right,
and it's good to have somebody come in and look at it from a different vantage point and say, well, why are you doing this?
Right.
Well, we've done it that way for 60 years.
Yeah.
That still don't make it
that doesn't make
thing.
That doesn't make it right. And maybe it is right. Maybe you've done that way for 50 years because that's what works. But, it would help to have a different perspective, I think, sometime.
Well, we're going to sit down and do a full interview.
We'll do a full coverage of that. And then
anybody.
And we'll try, and at least the three that are currently in council, I'll see them at council meetings, and I'll personally invite them to come on and do an interview.
Right.
And then the other two that are running, we'll try to reach out through Facebook wherever we can, or if anybody's watching and knows some of the other candidates, have them.
Yeah, we'd love to.
I think my cell phone number still scrolls across our screen,
yes,
so they can text or call, and we'll set up an interview. And then on top of that, what I would love to do, and this may be a pipe dream, but I would love for us to have a town hall where we could bring in the candidates for city council and have maybe a couple members of the media, moderate, like we've got our two newspapers or the radio or, anyone that's in the media. But in particular, have people from the community be able to come in and actually ask questions and say, hey, where do you stand on this? What do you feel about, this PUD that's going into my backyard? What do you think about this chemical plant they just stuck behind the hospital? There's a lot of things going on in the city, and it's hard when you walk into that ballot box and cast a vote. I sit here and I talk way too much every weekend on Saturday. It's not too hard to figure out where I stand on a lot of issues, but some of these other people, I don't know where they stand. Even people that I'm running against in my ward, and I live there, I'd like to know. I mean, I may sit down and listen to them talk, and I think, man, I may not vote for myself. I may vote for that other guy. So, but I don't know that without hearing their positions.
Right.
And the best way to do that would be some kind of Q&A. either an interview here with you or some kind of town hall. We could do
Sure.
it at the Ag Center. There's a number of churches I'm sure they'd be willing to
Oh,
host.
absolutely. Yeah.
And just have people from the community come in and say, hey, I live here. This is my concern. And that's part of what I want to do if I get the seat is I'm all over social media and available. My cell phone number runs across our screen all
You're
day.
not hiding.
I'm not hiding. If somebody's got an issue in my ward and they want to reach out to me, they're going to be able to get a hold of me, and I want to be able to represent.
And you do
them.
breakfast
So,
Fridays at Bell Buckle. We
I
know
do
that,
breakfast
too.
Fridays at Bell Buckle. I do breakfast Thursday at Coffee Break. I do
Right.
breakfast Wednesday at Pope's. Anybody can come
Yeah.
to any of those breakfasts, and
Yeah.
I'll be happy to sit down and talk to them, drink a cup of coffee, and go over what's going on in the
Right.
city.
Awesome. Well,
yeah.
we look forward to it. And honestly, I just appreciate people making themselves available to run for office like this and represent. We need representation, Josh, at
Oh, we
all
do.
levels.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to see people that actually want to represent their constituents stepping up to the plate. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And with that was kind of the week in review. So I think we're going to hear from our sponsor, and then we got a few interesting things coming up next week we'll talk about.
We'll be right back.
with the personalized service you deserve at Dennis Young Insurance Agency.
As a local independent agency, we offer coverage from several different companies, including Erie. So whether it's auto, home, life, personal, or business, we can find the right coverage to meet your unique insurance needs. And with a rate lock advantage, your rates won't go up as long as you do not change drivers, autos, or addresses. Contact us at Dennis Young Insurance Agency, insuring Shelbyville and surrounding areas since 1988.
All righty. Again, we thank Dennis Young Insurance for allowing us to do this show, the weekend wrap up. And Josh, what do we got coming up in the upcoming week? Before you jump in, I will say this. We have the celebration starting, and you got
That's
that
the big
written
one.
down.
I had it on my rundown.
Donuts
Donuts.
start Wednesday or Thursday. So there's going to be a line forming. I think it's Wednesday.
Is it Wednesday? I always thought they started the Thursday.
It
but
might
we'll
be
find
Thursday.
out.
I'll be there Wednesday.
Oh, well, get there early. You text me. If there's donuts there, I'll go ahead and
We'll
come
be
down.
camping out for the donuts.
August 21st to 31st, in case you live under a rock and just moved to town and don't realize that we have this little horse show every year.
Yep.
So this is,
Yep.
what is this, the 86th one, I believe?
I believe that's it.
86th annual celebration. There'll be people in from all over town. There'll be horses in. There'll be donuts. It's going to be a good time. So school's out, I think. Don't they let school out for most of
school's
that?
out,
School
man.
gets out for the celebrations. So this is the big time of year here in the big city. So we're looking forward to that. But in addition to that, even though we have the horse show, believe it or not, local government doesn't shut down for the horse show. We've still got things going on. So Tuesday night at 5 o'clock at the county courthouse, we have our monthly standing committee meetings. The big one, which is the one that starts at 5, is the rules committee, where we got Charlie Curtis coming in, and he's going to tell us how it is from the state's perspective on these new rules that we're writing, give recommendations to the commissioners. They're still debating a few of these new rules that they want to bring in, and he'll tell us, what's the best way to do it, how the other counties handle it, and that type of thing. And then Thursday night, which the celebration is already going on at that point, 6 o'clock, a big one for me, which I go to every month, City Planning Commission. And it's not a bad agenda, 2 pages, but there's 2 interesting things that I've picked out so far. And there's always something I'll hear in the meeting that piques my interest later. But just looking at the agenda, 73 unit major subdivision on Richdale and Brown Lanes, which those feed off of Fairfield Pike. And we know how traffic is already on Fairfield Pike.
Right.
So this is 73 more houses going. Mainly it feeds into Brown Lane, looking at the drawings.
That's
I've seen.
150 more cars, more than likely.
At least, yeah. I've seen, and actually I reposted a post by one of the neighbors
Right.
that lives over there, just that had the drawing and stuff. This particular development, there's no rezoning involved. It's already zoned correctly. All this is a site plan. So what that means is there's 2 different kinds of things that come to planning real quick. We won't drag this out, but they get administrative issues and they get legislative issues. Administrative issues are the ones that they get a list of check boxes, and if it hits the check boxes, they got to say yes. And that is what this is. It's an administrative thing. This is not something that has to go to city council. They're not rezoning. They're not changing the law like they are with a rezoning or a PUD. So and I expect a lot of discussion because it's a big development.
Right.
But at the end of the day, if it checks all the boxes, this is going to get approved and won't have to go to city council. The downside of this, where you have to look at these planning things, it doesn't just happen in a bubble. If you look across Brown Lane to the south, there is a massive PUD that is currently working its way through the system, planned unit development,
Right.
and it's 300 plus houses or something. So that's going to feed into Brown Lane. This is going to feed into Brown Lane. All that feeds into Fairfield Pike. I mean, 70 plus. I
Yeah.
mean, you're 400, 5. I don't know what the total is. A lot of houses feeding in. And this is not, I mean, this is what, 2 blocks up from the H.V. Griffin, where you turn into
Yes.
H.V. Griffin Park, which is already a dangerous intersection. So we're about to feed a lot more cars in between H.V. Griffin Park and the new Cartwright School
On Fairfield Pike.
on Fairfield Pike. That's already narrower than it needs to be for the amount of traffic we have. So these are the kind of things that it's important that our city council pay very close attention to, and part of why I, as someone that may or may not end up on city council, why I go to all these planning meetings, because if you don't know, you just see this sitting by itself, you don't think about that other PUD that's coming in. You just say, oh, this looks okay.
Right.
You got to think about all the other stuff going on the same street. And that ties into the second item that's on the agenda. This is a piece of property, and I didn't put down the name of the street. I'm forgetting what street it's on now, but it feeds in right next to the new Lexington Cove planned unit development.
Okay.
So we're about to approve that, and we've got a 3.3 piece of property that they want to upzone to multifamily.
More
So
apartments, more than likely.
it would be it could be 3 or 4 unit townhomes, and this is going to feed in right where the Lexington Cove is. Morton Avenue is the name of the street.
Morton Street.
Morton Street. It's going to feed right in next to an intersection that, if you have been following planning and have read the notes, our city engineer already said this was going to be a problematic intersection when Lexington Cove is done. They didn't like how they fed it in. They ended up approving it, but we're now going to throw another set of townhomes in right next to that entrance and
Yeah.
make it even more dangerous. So these are things that planning needs to look at very carefully, and I'm hoping they will, but I'll be there to, hear what the discussion is. And this
right.
is a rezoning, so this will go to city council eventually, so they need to also
So
pay attention.
very important
So,
meeting on Thursday.
Yeah, on Thursday. So, but with that, that'll be the meetings I'll be at this week, and I'm sure something will come out of left field. But always something comes out of left field. But we'll be back here at the same time, same place, same channel, and talk about it all again next week. We'll probably be talking about some horses then,
And
too.